Good evening and thank you for coming. I hope you can hear me. Thank you all for coming to the third of our public meetings on the what we're calling the Joint Cities Feasibility Study for connecting the Stevens Creek Trail. My name is Jack Whithouse. I'm the Transportation and Traffic Manager with the City of Sunnyvale. And what this study is, and just a real quick summary, is the four cities that are along the area of the Stevens Creek Trail where it exists now in Mountain View and exists in Cupertino. They've gotten together to try to see if the four communities can find a way to connect those two disparate segments. And if all four cities working together and reaching out to their communities can find a way to agree and advance something forward. So we are assessing that, the team here and myself, from a technical basis. We're coordinating public outreach like we're doing tonight and trying to inform the community of what we're finding technically. We're trying to get a lot of opinions from the community. So the turnouts that we're getting at these meetings is really wonderful. It's really very good feedback, and I appreciate you all being here tonight. The reason why I'm standing up here is Sunnyvale has elected to be the project lead, but all four cities are participating financially with in-kind services. We've set up the study in a format where we've got together a citizens working group, and they're kind of a focused first sounding board for the technical findings that we're finding and the materials that we're preparing for meetings. And you'll probably encounter one of the citizens working group members tonight because they're also acting as ambassadors between the technicians and the community. So sitting at your tables are people who have volunteered their time to work on this study. The other thing we've done is we have a policy working group. This is made up of representatives from each of the city councils, and the Santa Clara Valley Water District is at the table as well, and the County Parks Department. And they're sort of a second policy level sounding board for us as we, again, prepare technical information, make findings, and present that to the community and get feedback. So the four members on the working group are from Sunnyvale, Tara Martin Milius, from Cupertino, Orrin Mahoney, from Los Altos, Jeannie Bruns, and from Mountain View, Roni Bryant. So all of these people, besides what we're going to do here tonight, and you're going to get a lot of opportunities tonight to give input, but these people are also conduits to the study effort. So we want to hear from people. We want to get lots of communication. So again, thank you for being here. Logistically, we've got a good crowd. The room is filling up a little bit. If it starts getting too stuffy or just run out of places to sit, the broadcast is being sent outside on the porch here, so you can listen to the meeting. If you brought a good warm jacket. I have mine if somebody wants to borrow it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. We're going to do a presentation, and then we've got a number of input exercises for you tonight. I'm going to turn it over now to our consultant project manager, who is Jana Sokal.
Welcome, everyone. My name's Jana Sokal, and for those of you who might be arriving a little bit later, we do have another table up front, and there are plenty of chairs there. There are a few more chairs up here, and I've seen you pulling a couple of the chairs off the stacks. Please feel free to do that and make yourself comfortable. Let's see, we're going to be, our agenda tonight is to go through and to focus our energies on potential trail alignments within the city of Cupertino. We're going to do a short presentation and also catch you up to speed on the past two meetings that we've held. The first one was in Los Altos, the second in Sunnyvale, and our intent is to rotate through the cities each time we bring public information forward and to let you know what cities we're talking to. And then we're going to break out into working groups, and there'll be 4 or 5 different exercises and ways for you to give feedback to the cities, to the Joint Cities Working Team, and to the technical team, the consultant team. And that consultant team includes Hill Associates, landscape architects. Bruce Hill is here. Bruce worked on the Stevens Creek Trail as it goes through Blackberry Farm and McClellan Ranch. Po Chen from Mark Thomas and Company, they're structural engineers, and Po has worked extensively on the trail in Mountain View and some of the very difficult challenges that are in that area. Nikki Nagaya is here from Fair and Piers, which are transportation consultants and have worked throughout the valley on numerous on-street and off-street routes. And Cotton Shires and Associates, they're geotech engineers. They hail from Los Gatos. They're not here tonight, but they've been providing very technical information on the feasibility of the trail. And so that's the overview for the evening. Is the down arrow not working? Okay, there we go. So the study area. The study area extends from the Dale Heatherstone overpass, which was recently opened in the city of Mountain View. And that really connects part of Mountain View to Mountain View and Sunnyvale on the other side of Highway 85. Many of you have probably driven under that, and extends all the way to Stevens Creek Blvd to connect with the trail that's built and being planned in the city of Cupertino. It crosses Fremont and it crosses Homestead, and we're looking for alignments in that area to close the gap from the Bay Trail in Mountain View, where the trail terminates now. There are about 5 miles of trail built there, and the Cupertino section within Blackberry Farm. We're looking only at publicly held lands, and that was part of our contract. So you can see we've got a list of the different types of lands that are up there, and that, of course, causes many challenges for us, because there are areas, particularly in Cupertino and Los Altos, where private property owners own to the center line of the creek, and those are areas that we're not looking at for trail alignments at all. Just to give you a little sense of the geography, this is a shot from Fremont Ave in the foreground, looking all the way out to San Francisco Bay. You can see the Shoreline Amphitheater tent in the upper portion of that, and the trail is built from just a little out of this, into this photo, all the way to the bay, where it connects with the Bay Trail, which is ringing the bay. And then if we were to head south, this is the El Camino interchange, and you can see the trail on the right-hand side of the photo. That extends to the Dale Heatherstone overpass. You can see the Santa Cruz Mountains in the background, and that, of course, is the backdrop to Cupertino and Saratoga and Los Gatos. This was the design of the Dale Heatherstone overpass, and that was an overpass spanning Highway 85 that allowed Mountain View really to knit its community back together. In Mountain View, Highway 85 cut through many of the neighborhoods, and the development of the trail has allowed folks to get into downtown. It has allowed students to get to school and provided a lot of good benefits in that community. And here's the trail in Blackberry Farm in Cupertino. And as you can see, the character of the trail is different. It's smaller. It's designed a little bit differently. It's built in the floodplain. It's an open grade concrete to match the sensitive surrounding of that habitat. And the trail will be different depending on what community that it's in. We are looking in this study, in this broad study area, at all ways to complete the Stevens Creek Trail. We're looking at treatments on the street, that might be bike lanes or sidewalks, as well as areas within the corridor where we have public ownership. And we're looking at engineered structures as well as opportunities for habitat restoration, similar to what Cupertino and Mountain View have undertaken when the trail has come into their communities. This is where we are now in the study. In November, we reported out on ownership, on land availability, meaning was the corridor where we had ownership wide enough to support a trail, the habitat along the corridor, and the previous planning efforts that have taken place by other cities over the last, many, many years, actually going all the way back into the 60s. We now have begun to identify a whole universe of potentially feasible routes and structures to convey the trail from Mountain View into Cupertino. We've taken those ideas to some of the agencies that own or control those lands, like the Santa Clara Valley Water District and Caltrans, to see if they concurred with us that some of those ideas might be feasible. We did that before we brought them to you, so we didn't waste your time. These are the public meetings, and this is where we are. The meeting in January, which was part one, really focused on the connections in Los Altos and Sunnyvale. Tonight we're really focusing on those connections that are in Cupertino. Our next meeting is unscheduled because we have collected so much information. We need to make sure that we've processed that information effectively to come back to you with some new ideas. So sometime in April and May. And please make sure you sign up, because we will send email announcements out to everyone, as well as the city noticing that's been going on. This is the website that's at Sunnyvale. Sunnyvale's hosting the website, but if you just simply go to City of Sunnyvale, you can find this page right away from their home page. But this is where all the documents are that you might want to access that'll be used tonight and that'll be presented tonight, and all the past meetings documents are there. And when I mentioned to you that this trail planning dates all the way back into the 1960s, this was the first trail plan, which was really a necklace of lands along Stevens Creek that were set aside by the county planning office all the way back into the early 60s. Since that time, a number of trail plans have come along. In 1980, Mid-Peninsula and the Water District in Mountain View did a plan of opportunities. Ultimately, this trail, the intent of this trail was also to connect all the way up to Skyline and the Ridge Trail, and then connect to Skyline to the Sea Trail, which goes all the way out to Waddell Creek and Big Basin State Park. If we finish it, I think it'd be the first trail in the bay where you can actually go from the bay to the Pacific Ocean. So long-range planning efforts. In 1991, Mountain View undertook their Stevens Creek Trail and Wildlife Corridor study, which has resulted in the 5 miles of trail you see today. They then refined that concept for the last piece that was near the high school, Mountain View Los Altos High School, in 2002. In 2006, Cupertino started working on their trail, and you've seen pieces of that develop. And in Los Altos, conducted a study in 2008. Now, the one thing with the study in Los Altos is that it did not have the benefit of Sunnyvale as a partner. Sunnyvale hadn't wanted to participate in trail development for many years. Now that Sunnyvale has come on board to do that, all 4 cities have joined effort, as Jack mentioned, to look at a way to complete the trail. And that might be on a street, that might be along the corridor. The Stevens Creek Trail, with all that planning behind it, was also included in the 1995 Countywide Trails Master Plan as a sub-regional trail route. The other trail that we'll touch upon a little bit is we're also talking about connections to Rancho San Antonio tonight, and some new opportunities there. And the Juan Bautista de Anza National Historic Trail extends through Rancho. There'll be a number of survey opportunities. One of the surveys is just a simple two-page survey card on whether you want to extend the trail. If so, where do you think it should be extended? We compiled data from that survey card from the last 2 meetings, and in general, what we found was that the majority of people who attended those meetings use the trail for recreation. Now, that's not to say there aren't folks who also commute on the trail in Mountain View, but in the Los Altos Sunnyvale area, the folks using the trail now primarily use it for recreation. People equally bike, recreationally bike and walk. There was general support for extending the trail to Cupertino from trail users as well as non-trail users. And the most important aspects, and you'll see there are a number of things that you can rank on a scale of 1 to 10, were that we keep the existing trail well maintained. If we move forward with more trail, it includes habitat restoration, and that the trail be extended to Cupertino over time. So what I'm going to present tonight are some of the preliminary alignments and treatments on the street. And I wanted to let you know that these the criteria that we used for looking at whether we could feasibly put some of these ideas out was we looked at all of the technical guidelines that Caltrans has, that American with Disabilities Act has. We looked at maintaining maintenance and management opportunities for the Santa Clara Valley Water District for flood conservation and for flood protection, making sure we could pass the 100-year event. As well as then we looked at city streets, and we actually have measured all your streets. So we know if those widths would support a bike lane, if they'd support a new sidewalk or a gravel path. And we've looked at travel speeds and volumes and schools. And again, all the design guidelines for what happens on a street. Now, that doesn't mean we've come up with a solution, but we know what might be feasible, and what we want from you tonight is, what do you think of those ideas? So just to get you focused on where we are, I briefly just want to show you the land ownership maps. This is the map that extends from Dale Heatherstone down to Fremont. Anything that you see in color is in public ownership. It's either a school, it's open space land owned by Mountain View, it's PG&E land, a variety of lands. And we have a variety of challenges and opportunities in all of these lands. We've got to get over Highway 85 in this particular stretch. We might need Caltrans. And then you see in the top photo, we have almost no top of bank left to extend a trail. So there's some really tight areas. And yet we have great opportunities. There are 22 acres of open space along the creek in the cities of Sunnyvale and Mountain View that are landlocked against the freeway. And then, if you look at the next map, you can see that we're losing ownership. As you head south past Fremont, there's really very little ownership along the creek corridor. There are a few pieces of water district land, some scattered lands, but generally we're losing that land. And what that is meaning, what that really relates to, is that we're going to be forced to extend the trail on city streets if we're able to achieve that. These are some of the bridges we've looked at getting in and around. One is, the upper one is Fremont Ave, the lower one is Highway 85. Some of the open space land that exists in that area. And then the last map, which focuses on Cupertino, you can see actually Cupertino's got a tremendous amount of land. The land in magenta is city-owned land. And because of Cupertino's foresight in acquiring the floodplain lands, they've been able to preserve McClellan Ranch, purchase Blackberry Farm, purchase the Stockelmeyer property, and extend the trail through that area and restore the habitat in those areas. So it's quite an achievement. We also have the UP line that runs through as a challenge to extending the trail, and that's the underpass underneath Highway 280, which is where the creek floods in the wintertime and flows year-round. We are near many parks in Cupertino, which is a great thing. Okay, so now I'm going to take you through some of the alignments. And again, we're only going to really focus on the Cupertino map and then the Rancho connections tonight. And I just put this up to orient you to what the map's going to look like first. If you look at the bottom of the map and you see the potential facilities, there are very few opportunities in Cupertino for a Class 1 path, which is the type of path you have in Blackberry Farm. There are opportunities to extend bike lanes on city streets, which is the yellow, and there are opportunities for neighborhood greenways, which Nikki's going to address later in the presentation. But that's what those colors mean as you see the maps. So let's see that next map. We pick up at Homestead, and Homestead is about halfway through the map. Let's see. This is Homestead here, and we've looked at a variety of alignments you can see that might come down through Sunnyvale area. Essentially, we've grouped those into a few names, and I'll say the corridor alignment looks at this area in the Barranca, Peninsula, Maxine, Caroline area. There's an alignment that uses the existing Mary Avenue Bridge, and there's the existing alignment that uses Grant Road. The focus has really been in this area because these two facilities here have very high traffic volumes and leave people in really even busier areas. As Mary is a great connection to the college, but to get back to Blackberry Farm is not a great opportunity. You have to come back over Highway 85 and all the on and off ramps that are there. So this is one area that we're going to be talking about. And we have 2 crossings in that area as potential crossings to get over Highway 280. We've looked high and low. We looked at about 6 areas for where we might be able to extend the Stevens Creek Trail over Highway 280. And there are 2 that seem plausible to Caltrans. They both come off the Barranca Peninsula, Maxine, Caroline area. I call the first one Alignment 1, and the comment card that you'll have tonight uses this same lingo. And that comes down and uses Caltrans right away off Peninsula and brings an overpass structure and drops it into the very back of Somerset Park. This alignment would not cross the Union Pacific Railroad, so it would bring you out near the post office in Cupertino. And that's on the next map. I'll show you that in just a minute. The second alignment comes off of Caroline, sweeps over, but because of some changes in the grade here at the railroad tracks, we're actually able to sweep it over, land it right in the edge of the railroad, and that connects up to Madera, which would, of course, take you out to Man or Far Lap. And that would be then extension of bike lanes in those areas. Let's see some pictures of those spots. So this is the existing path through Somerset. The landing would be way back here in the very triangle of Somerset, but then you'd be able to walk or bike out the existing pathway right here and come out at Somerset. That's one potential alignment that we do believe could be feasible. The second alignment, alignment number 2, is the alignment that spans both the railroad and Highway 280. And you can see the difference in the grade here. So in order to get the overpass over, the grade change actually worked in our favor here and allowed us to span both facilities and land right on this embankment. So that's one other possibility, and that would then connect potentially to bikeways or a neighborhood greenway on Madera, Man, or Far Lap, something in that area. And let's see, if we go to the next map, you can see that. You can see these 2 possible overpasses, and then you can see the various alignment options in Cupertino on either side of the Union Pacific line. And of course, this line, we also looked at how long that line might be in service, because it would be fabulous to use it as a rail-to-trail conversion, but it's our understanding Lehigh plans to be in business for quite a bit longer. And with that, Union Pacific, being the underlying fee title owner, would not support an at-grade crossing of the tracks, even though the train really runs about 3 times a week. Let's just go back one more time. So these, you can see these line up with the open space lands along the creek. Man would come out opposite Orange, and then Peninsula would come out next to the post office. And there are various pros and cons to all of these alignments, and we're looking forward to hearing what you might have to say about pros and cons to those alignments. Just jumping now to Rancho for a minute. In the trail study that was done for Cupertino way back in 2001, connections following Stevens Creek Blvd into the back of Rancho were proposed. We've re-looked at that. We've also brought geotech engineers out to look at this possibility. The existing bike lanes end here on Stevens Creek Blvd. We believe it's possible along the street frontage and then into existing public lands, bring a trail, a Class 1 trail, in and across on a small pedestrian bridge up near the Hammond Snyder home, and then connect into the existing trails. We may also be able to develop a trail staging area in that area, which would give Cupertino residents sort of a back door to Rancho San Antonio. For those of you who use Rancho, you know how incredibly busy and how difficult it is to get a parking spot. It's the second busiest county park in the system. And I think part of that is because it's beauty, and part of it's because it's proximity into the developed area. So this would provide a super opportunity to get access into Rancho off of Stevens Creek Blvd. And I have just a couple of shots of that. Again, we're taking advantage of the grades. So we'd be below the Hammond Snyder home on old fill that was probably a result of this cut. You can see the rail line. And that would be an opportunity that would be, I think, of a good benefit to those of you who live in Cupertino. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Nikki to talk to you about some of the details of what these treatments on the street might look like, because we're going to be asking for your feedback on that.
Thank you, Jonna. Great, so I'm going to run through some of the on-street bike facilities and pedestrian facilities that we're going to look at as part of the trail alignment options. So the first one of those that I want to cover is what's called a Class 2 bike lane. And so these classifications, first of all, come and are consistent with designations that Caltrans gives to different levels of bike improvements for street systems. The kind of corollary to a Class 2 on-street bike lane would be a Class 1 off-street bike path, which is what you're familiar with in both Blackberry Farm and the existing trail that runs through Mountain View. So for a Class 2 bike lane, essentially what we have is two travel lanes, kind of standard vehicle traffic in either direction, and then a bike lane on either side, providing some designated space for people to ride within the existing right-of-way. So there are a couple of different options for where these could be located on the streets that we're looking at within Cupertino. Those are Barranca, Peninsula, Caroline, and Maxine. So those kind of four street segments.
Should that be Peninsular? I think you
got it wrong.
Okay, Peninsular, excuse me. We'll get that updated on the slides and the maps as well. So moving kind of from a space on the street for a Class 2 bike lane, the next option would be to have kind of shared space on the street. So this is called a Class 3 bike route. Traditionally, you might have seen these. They have kind of small green signs along the street where the space is actually shared between a vehicle and a bicyclist. So you can see here the cars. There's enough width for both the bicyclist and the car to share the space, but you don't have enough width to stripe a designated area for bikes only. So given kind of comfort level for bicyclists, a Class 3 bike route can be challenging for folks who aren't really comfortable riding in traffic. And so what we've done is identify an additional level of enhancement to kind of a traditional Class 3 bike route, excuse me, a traditional Class 3 bike route where you have additional enhancements on the street to prioritize the street for bike traffic, and then provide some traffic calming benefits as well to reduce vehicle speeds and improve bike visibility. And so these are really kind of easy to do in terms of the existing right-of-way. You don't need additional street width. All you really need to do is identify different enhancements along the corridors to provide those traffic calming benefits. So these can really be done on any of the streets that are in question tonight. So to give you a kind of a better idea of what this neighborhood greenway facility looks like in practice, this is an example concept plan, and we're going to run through some sample photos after this slide as well. But this is an example concept plan from the city of San Luis Obispo, where we had designed a bike boulevard or neighborhood greenway on Morrow Street. So essentially this is Morrow Street as it runs kind of from downtown San Luis Obispo towards Santa Barbara Street and Highway 101. And so really it involves kind of two different types of treatments. One is spot improvements as you cross different intersections to really prioritize bike traffic as folks are moving through the intersection. So that can be done through kind of positioning stop signs so that in this case bikes have through right-of-way. So traffic crossing the neighborhood greenway stops, but bike traffic has the right-of-way. So for those of you who ride, you kind of can understand the energy savings that comes with, so that you don't have to stop frequently as you're bicycling along the corridor. So this is an example of what that looks like along Morrow Street, where the stop signs are positioned so that bikes can kind of move through, and then vehicles stop in this direction. Another thing I want to point out here is the corner curbs as well, which were built out into curb extensions so that vehicles turning around the corners have to kind of stop and slow down so that both bicyclists and then pedestrians crossing in either direction have the benefit of vehicles going slower and then having less speed differential between someone who's on a bike or walking and the car that's making a turn. This is some of the example landscaping that comes along with the neighborhood greenway concept. And so once you implement some of the traffic calming devices and install those, it really frees up some ability to do some landscaping and greenery improvements as well to provide some streetscape benefits and neighborhood beautification as well. So this is one example, and not necessarily something that we are proposing, but just to give you some ideas and concepts on the types of improvements that can go along with a neighborhood greenway. This is an actual street closure where bike through traffic is allowed, but vehicle traffic is not. So in both the kind of Peninsular Caroline neighborhood and Farlap and Madera and Stokes on the south side of 280, there's not a lot of cross-street traffic that we have to deal with. This is more applicable to the more northern sections in Sunnyvale, but could be something that could be implemented on certain sections where we have significant cross-traffic and we're looking to minimize vehicle conflicts with bikes and people walking. So some of the kind of wayfinding and signage improvements that can go along with these neighborhood greenway concepts are shown here. This is an example of a stencil on the street to really bring your attention that bikes have right-of-way to share the space, and then some examples of monument topper signs for the local streets, just to give a better idea of that this is a route that bikes can use, and then also just to add a little bit more of an enhancement to the connectivity of the trail and the alignment as a whole. And then finally, just wanted to show some examples of more traditional traffic calming elements that can be used as part of these neighborhood greenway concepts. This is a speed bump or speed table. These can be kind of designed in different profiles to minimize the effect that they have on jarring your vehicle as you drive over them, but can significantly help to reduce vehicle speeds in places where this might be a concern for neighbors as well. And with that, I will turn back to Jana.
We have 2 more slides here. Maybe. So we're going to break in just a minute. I have just 1 or 2 slides left. And I'm just about to sneeze. I just wanted to go over some of the exercises that we're going to have. There's a 4-page assessment tool that asks you about these various alignments, as well as about some of the treatments that we could have on the streets, whether any of these things would be of interest to you and your neighborhoods, and how you might rank those. I do believe that if the trail were to extend along a city street, there could be quite a bit of curbside appeal that would come out of some of these enhancements that might bring a benefit to your neighborhoods. And so you might think about that as far as, oh, maybe not. I don't know, I think of street trees and additional landscaping and things like that as a benefit. So a special spot for the garbage pickup. So anyways, those items are here, and I can tell you that at our last meeting we did receive 154 completed surveys, all of which is being evaluated and analyzed street by street. So we ask for your street on the handout. I'll get to questions in just a minute. Let me go through the various items. The other item is on the far corner here against the wall going out towards the deck. That is a 2-page survey, which is the survey I mentioned to you in the presentation. And that has more general information about the Stevens Creek Trail, where this is specific to Cupertino. The third exercise is in the far back left corner. the various treatments that Nikki reviewed as far as street possibilities are there, and she'll be providing you with yellow and green dots. Green are for things that you might want to consider in your neighborhood. Yellow are for things that you do not like. Okay? And you can put those on the bottom of those as in just another broad way of providing some feedback. And then in the far right-hand corner, there are maps that are up, and some of the consultants will be in those corners to answer any questions that you might have. And at the tables, the main assessment tool is there, as well as the Citizens Working Group members. I don't know if you've all identified them yet, but maybe if you just raise your hand, those of you who are on the Citizens Working Group. And if you don't have a facilitator and would like one, those of us who are here could help as well. When you're done with that, please pass it on to the facilitator or on to one of the consultants. We will indeed be tabulating all of that. The general 2-page comment card that's on the right as you walk out towards the deck, that comment card, there'll be a basket there. Just drop those comment cards in the basket. Those will also be tabulated. What else was I thinking? I don't know. Are there any questions on the process?
It seems as if our choices to comment tonight are limited to this card, which has predisposed us to limit it to the choices that have already been narrowed down to. So I think there are people here that are open to different ideas and have come tonight to speak openly in a public forum rather than just circling.
Well, we did not feel that we would have the opportunity for everybody to speak tonight. However, please do write those comments. There are a lot of spaces for your thoughts, open thoughts on these worksheets, and we welcome that. And it's been incredibly good information. The information we've gotten at the last 2 meetings have updated a lot of the work that we've done and is indeed being integrated. The other thing that I wanted to say that I lost track of is that, Nikki, if the next slide comes up again, I wanted to remind you next meeting some of the things that we'd be reporting out. And then finally, going back, this is the website. If there were neighbors who were unable to attend tonight, these materials will be on the website, and you're more than welcome to download them, complete them, and send them in. And we welcome those comments as well. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Steve, why are we wasting so much money on this project?
Well, I'll tell you what. Please I am not your elected official. Please put that comment on your card.
Where's he at?
Because they are looking closely at all of this information. And with that, I'll leave this slide up in case anybody wants to take that information. And we'll...
Who are they?
Oh, Jack mentioned that, but it's all 4 city councils that represent all 4 of the cities. The 4 members that were elected from their councils to work on the joint Stevens Creek Trail Task Force include Mayor Orrin Mahoney from the city of Cupertino, a council member Tara Martin-Milius from the city of Sunnyvale, Councilwoman Jeannie Bruins from the city of Los Altos, who's also here, and Councilwoman Ronit Bryant from the city of Mountain View. And they are getting information from the whole team, and they are bringing that back to the council. So I think we've got several council members here that you could also chat with tonight. And I thank you.